it's Christy. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to day 11 in my 2017 holiday card series. Today I'm going to be using this Nice List stamp set by Craftin Desert Divas and also the Echo Park A Perfect Christmas 6x6 by Lori Whitlock. This has a really great traditional Christmas color palette. So if you watched my recent haul video, you heard me say that I'm really far behind in my holiday card making this year due to the fact that I was participating in NaNoWriMo and writing my novel during the month of November. So I got a late start, so today I thought I would go ahead and make 4 cards at once. So I've done a couple videos like this in the past. I called it One Set 4 Ways, and we'll just consider this the Christmas edition. I began by stamping all of my images and sentiments onto a piece of Copic friendly cardstock, and I stamped that in Tuxedo Black Memento ink, as I'm obviously coloring with my Copic markers today. I'm only going to be coloring one on camera just due to the time constraints. There is quite a bit of coloring for the 4 cards, but they're all featuring this same adorable reindeer, and I'm coloring them in the exact same color palette. So there are like a few little different accessories. This one has the little squirrel there. There's another one with a gift. One has snowflakes, and one is popping out of a gift. So those I just colored with the same exact shades of markers that I'm going to be using on this one. I wanted to keep it really quick and easy and also just kind of cohesive, so they could almost be a set, although they will be going to different people. So I started out by coloring my reindeer, giving him an all-over coat of the E31, my lightest shade, and that's just so that I could kind of lay out my coloring and also just saturate the paper a little bit and get it ready for blending. And then I came in with my E37 and laid in my shadows. I blended that out with the E35 and then the E33, and then I'm going back down to the E31 again. So once I got down to the E31, I'm just being sure to blend really well. Sometimes I have trouble with these E30s, getting them to just make a smooth transition. So I'm just going over it a little bit and making sure that I blend everything out really well. I'm also going to go back in and color his little ear and his tail that I missed earlier and just finish that off in the same way. Next I'm taking the E50 and E51 and I'm going to use those 2 shades to color in the little stripe down his face, both on his forehead and then under his chin. I'm also going to color in the antlers and his ear and then a little bit on the tail there. So I'm just using those 2 shades to create a little bit of transition there. On the forehead I'm letting it blend out to the white in the center just to make that nice and highlighted. For his hooves, I'm using the W7 and just going over those carefully. There's such a small little area. I'll use the BG10 to outline the outer edge of his eye so it looks bright white. For his iris, I started out with G28 and I shaded towards the bottom, and then I decided that that was going to be too dark to carry the whole way, so I brought in the G24. And I colored all the reindeers with green eyes. I just thought that was a fun place to add that traditional Christmas color. I'll use the R29 to give him a little red nose and a red collar. I colored all the reindeer's colors red, and I gave 2 of them red noses and 2 of them black noses. And I'll use the Y32 to color in his little tag. Moving on to my squirrel, I'm going back to my E50 and E51 and just coloring in his face and his little belly. For the rest of his body, I'm using E15, E17, and E19. And I'm starting with the E19, just using it very sparingly to give some dark contrast in the shadowed areas. And sorry, my hand is kind of covering that. I try to stay out of the way, but this is a really small image. So I'm blending out with the E17 and finishing up with the E15, although I actually decided that on his tail and on his body that it could do with a fourth shade just to kind of add a little bit more highlight. So I did bring in the E13 to finish him up. For his hat, I'm using R29 and R39, just adding a little touch of that R39 right along the brim and then blending out with the R29. And then I'll also use the R29 to color in his little candy cane. I'll give a little flick of the BG10 to the white of his hat. Next, I wanted to give them a little bit of shading underneath to kind of separate the ground from the sky, since I'm doing kind of a white sky background. So I'm adding a little bit of shading right underneath them, starting with the C0 to just kind of lay it in and see where I want it to go. And then I can build up my colors. I'm going to add a little bit more of the C1, and I'm just doing little flicks of color that sort of would resemble shadows. And then I'm adding a little bit of C3 right under their feet and their bottoms. And then I'll just blend that back down in the reverse to really soften that up so it looks like nice fluffy snow. And then to further enforce that, I'm going to add in my BG10 once again to just kind of cool that down and really reinforce that that is snow that they're standing on. And now here is a look at all 4 of our adorable reindeer all colored up in the exact same color palette. So the next thing I'm going to do is take the My Favorite Things wonky stitched circle die, and I'm going to die cut each of these into a circle panel. And now I can choose my pattern papers. I'm trying to use colors that I think will go really well with our images and patterns as well. So some of these have like the gifts that I colored the images to match, and just right out of this same color palette. I used this pattern paper pack as the inspiration as I was coloring so that I can be sure that my images are going to match perfectly. I'm going to be using 3 different patterns on each card. I'm going to do the same exact layout though, so I'm just going to keep tearing out patterns until I have enough. And I'm also just trying to vary the sizes of the prints and the colors so that they go well together as I create my layers for my card. Before I go any farther and my card gets too bulky, I wanted to go ahead and stamp the insides of my card. So I'm using Lawn Fawn Dough ink on some Gina K Designs craft cardstock. And I have my focal panels off to the side there so that I can make sure that I use a different sentiment and a different image on the inside of each card so that I won't end up with a card that has the same image on the front and on the inside. I wanted to make sure that they're a little bit different. And I'm just varying where I put the image and where I put the sentiment on each one, just for a little bit of variety. And I'm just showing you 2 for now, but I'll show all 4 at the end of the video. So I've laid out each card with the pattern papers and the focal point that I want to use, and I die cut my pattern papers with the stitched wonky rectangles from MFT and the stitched banner duo from Pretty Pink Posh. That's the flag die. And I'm just going to assemble these one at a time, but I'm just going to show the one because they're all going to be exactly the same. So I'm going to glue the largest piece of pattern paper straight down to the card base that has a little bit of that craft cardstock showing through all around the edge. Then I'm going to take the long skinny strip, and these were leftovers from cutting down the largest piece for the card base. I'm going to make sure that I get that really nice and straight using my grid mat there and press that down into place. And then I can flip that over and trim off the excess with my cutter bee scissors. And then I'll take my banner and glue that down in the center of the card, and I'm just going to line that up so that the inner triangle of the banner lines up with the bottom of that panel that's going across the card. I wanted my focal panel to be lifted off the card a little bit, so I'm adding some Scotch 3M foam tape to the back, although you could certainly glue this down flat if you were concerned about it going through the mail. And then I'm just going to line this up and make sure I have it exactly where I want it before I press that down into place, because once this tape is stuck down, you're not getting it back up again. And here is a look at all 4 of our cards completely assembled. I think they came out super cute, and I'll show you the insides as well. So this little guy has a coordinating sentiment and a different image. This guy is the only one I used a different sentiment and the Santa image. The rest all have reindeer and the you're my dear, or to my dear friend, or you're on the nice list sentiment. To finish things up, I'm going to take the Nuvo Crystal Drops in Duck Blue, and I'm going to add some snow to each of my focal panels. So how I use this is I just press down really lightly, but kind of consistent pressure, and I just do some big and some small, and then when I kind of lift off, I swirl the nozzle a little bit to kind of break the strand so that you don't get any kind of goopiness or any blobs that kind of go off to the side or anything like that. These come out perfectly round like this. And this duck blue has just the hint of light blue in it. It's almost like the BG10 that we used on the snow, so I thought it was the perfect accompaniment to just add a little bit of embellishment to each of these little cards. And that is going to complete our cards for today. So I hope you guys enjoyed this 4-card format. Let me know in the comment section below if you did. Also let me know which of these 4 reindeer is your favorite. For me, it's the one on the left with the little reindeer facing the squirrel. Although the squirrel is a separate image, so he could have gone with any of them, but I just like the way that they were facing. They're all so cute though. I really can't wait to try out more sets from this company. I think their illustrations are darling. So thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed. If you did, please be sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't done that already and you enjoyed the content. Here's an extra couple videos from day 11 of the previous 2 years of Holiday Card series, so hopefully those will tide you over until the next one. Until then, I hope you guys have an amazing day. Bye-bye.